And I want to welcome everybody to our Michigan Women's Coaches show. As today we want, again, always thank Regents Field. Thank you very much for letting us be here live on air. Come on down, 6 p.m. every Wednesday to check out the Coaches Show live. Of course, you can always check it out on Twitter or on arbourbroadcasting.com as well if you can't be there. We have, for tonight's show, a very special guest. We have an Ann Arbor native and longtime assistant coach with the Michigan Women's Hockey program. Coach Ned Glysson will be joining the show today. Welcome, Coach Ned. We appreciate that.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much.
As we even have more folks coming in wearing Michigan Women's Hockey shirts, so I love it. I love it. Love being live. So, Coach Ned, when did you start playing hockey, and how did you initially get started playing hockey?
Well, that was a long time ago, Mark. First of all, let me thank for your honor to be here and be on this, and we appreciate all you've done for the program and the years that you've supported us, and it's an honor to have a little bit of time to tell some old guy stories. I had an old friend in elementary school. I was kind of old for a beginning hockey player, 9 years old, Marty Mager, and he was a member at the Barton Hills Country Club, and there was a pond on Barton Hills Country Club, and he asked me to come out and play hockey, so my parents dug up an old pair of my grandmother's figure skates and my dad's old hockey stick, and he said, here's a hockey stick you can have. It's the only one I ever had. It's taped from tip to tip, and you should never need another one, and go do it. And it was like an addiction.
Oh, sure.
From then on, I did every chance I could to get into the Ann Arbor Hockey Association and play when I could, but that's where it all started, was on the pond at Barton Country Club.
That's fantastic. Starting with pond hockey, the roots of the game. I love it.
That's very true.
You went out of state to University of Wisconsin for school. Did you stay in hockey, associated with hockey over in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I kind of had a Wisconsin won the national championship in '73, the year I graduated from high school. So I kind of had a thought about giving it a shot and going out. But then when I saw the guys that were going out, they were going to ask me which end to tape because I was such a stick, and they were very skilled. So I stayed involved with a lot of IM hockey and things like that. And one of the things that was I played softball with one of the team managers, and in those days, Wisconsin played at Dane County Coliseum off campus, and they had afternoon practices. And as a junior, they asked me to be the team manager, which would have been a huge honor because I would have been working with Badger Bob Johnson.
Oh, sure,
and Eves and Mark Johnson were on the team, and all those big names, famous guys that were even on the 1980 team, Miracle on Ice. And I thought about it, but I didn't have a car. I couldn't get off campus, and I was a biochem major, and I had a lot of afternoon labs. So I had to turn it down, and it's one of the things I missed the most because in '77 they went to Olympia for the national championship, and in overtime beat Michigan. And I would have been behind the bench or on the ice in the celebration, and instead I was in the stands just saying, darn, I missed that one too. So,
well, but
I did stay involved. Yep,
that's
much as
wonderful.
I could.
So then you came back to Ann Arbor after college. What's so special about this town that brought you back?
Well, we actually went to the Detroit area, Roseville and Royal Oak for a couple years, but my family's from here. My wife's family, Jenny, I call her Coach Jenny, was from here. So we wanted to stay in the area. She went to work for General Motors and was a breadwinner. And then I took a job in Ann Arbor in 1980 and did the Roseville to Ann Arbor commute for 4 years and decided that the future would be bright coming back here. So we found a house, and we decided our house will be 40 years old to us in this next year. So we just decided to come back and raise a family here with our family here and all that kind of stuff. So
fantastic.
We loved it. I mean, it's a lot like Madison, but we had jobs. So
that's the important part, right? Mortgage doesn't pay itself.
That's right. Yeah. So.
In addition to coaching, I know you've been very involved with the community. And what else have you been involved with your time as a coach?
I worked for Elastisel for over 40 years, and he was a good Leo Legaski was the owner. He was very supportive of Ann Arbor hockey. I played hockey with him summers in high school and college.
Nice.
And then I came back in the Detroit area. I actually got involved with Dougie Waite's father. Doug Waite was a coach with the St. Clair Shores program
Nice.
And then the Fraser Crees, and I became his goalie coach, and then he took over for a while with the CompuWare team, and I was their volunteer coach with CompuWare. So he kind of got me into it, and especially got me coaching goalies,
Nice.
which was interesting. And then when I came back to, and all during those times, I was running teams, manager, captain, coach, general manager, all that kind of for adult teams, men's teams. So I just kept doing that until John Bacon asked me to get back into it formally with the Huron program in 2000.
Nice. Very nice. And are you still playing at this point?
Still playing at this point.
Nice.
Almost 25 years with the Ann Arbor Masters Hockey League out of Chelsea, 40 and over. I've aged out of that, so now I'm doing some subbing with the Platinum League there in Chelsea, 50 and over. And now we actually have a group of us that run older guys. Some guys are over 70 that play on Tuesday afternoons in Chelsea, and then there's pickup games on Sunday and Friday. So there's a group of us that do that.
That's fantastic. I know a couple years ago for a nice fundraising, your team actually played the Michigan women's team, and so it was that fun to actually get to play your team. And
we did it again this last year, the old Puckers.
Yep.
And we plan on doing it again this year. I'm not sure whether my surgery, whether I'll be able to escape, but we'll definitely organize it and get as large a group as we can there to each of the guys buy in, and then we pay for the ice, we pay for the locker room, and try to get some extra money and get some people there to fundraise. So the guys love it. They get to play at Yost, and it's a good bunch of buddies that play and very supportive. And the girls seem to love it. We always have a good time. So
that is fantastic.
Yeah, it's good.
So speaking of Mr. Bacon, and he has written a book and included you in it, Let Them Lead. And could you tell us kind of how it felt being named in the now famous book?
Well, I told John, I skate with him occasionally still. I told him he made me as famous as I'll ever be. So it was a nice. He put me in a good light. I appreciate that, and it was fun. I helped him edit it with a few of the guys that were on the team.
Very
and
cool.
Involved with it. So it was fun to reconnect with some of those guys and hang out and see the success of the book. And it's, I'm not used to having to sign books, but it's fun to get to sign a book. So
that is awesome.
Yeah, it was an honor. It was a privilege. Yeah,
it's a good book, and that is from the Pioneer, Ann Arbor Pioneer play-by-play guy as well. So I'm saying the Huron book was fantastic.
Yeah. It is a good book, and what's really neat about it is it's an easy read. It's light, and it's hockey-based, but it's also I think really good business as a retired businessman. I think there's a lot to be said for what it gives you as far as business perspective too. So
absolutely. Yeah. And the audio book, John reads it himself, so that's fun. So you got involved with the Michigan women's hockey team back in 2007. What got you involved with the team? How did you become involved with the Michigan women's hockey team?
Well, that's a good question. Another hockey guy in Ann Arbor gave me word that there was an opening, Lonnie Grantham,
sure.
And we interviewed with one of the people on the panel that we interviewed was Sue, from the founder from last year, and a couple of ex-players that I still keep in touch with. They interviewed us, a bunch of us. I think the story goes that somebody actually showed up with an Ohio State tie on. Thankfully, I beat them out. But Rob Blackburn, who coached at Michigan for 8 years and now is at Michigan State, was there with us. He had a little more experience with coaching the girls, and I had raised daughters, so what they did is they hired the two of us together. And it seemed like a natural progression. I'd been with Huron for 8 years. I was going to stay another 2 for the transition out, so it would be around 10 years. And I thought that would be. I'd coached girls softball, and I'd coached some girls soccer, and I knew that I loved working with the Huron program, but I knew that if I had a choice of which gender I wanted to coach, I would prefer to coach the girls.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's fantastic to get involved in. Now, this is a team that you've been committed to for the past 16 years. What is it about this team that's kept you engaged with them for so long?
You're going to make me cry. It's an interesting dynamics. First of all, part of the reason I wanted to do it is because I thought they deserved more respect, and if I could even just bring the Ann Arbor hockey community more in tune with the respect they deserved, They don't care if you didn't play in the show. They
Yeah.
just think it's great that you're willing to put the time in, and if you care and you're sincere, they appreciate that. So they didn't care how good you were. It seems like, and they're so brilliant, and they keep you young. I mean, they're even things like just the social media, Venmo. I never would have done Venmo, but now I do Venmo when I sharpen their skates, and just the communication and the fellowship and the fact that they respect who you are and the time you put in. They've given me every bit as much as I've given them. It's just a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And speaking about the hockey community, give them more respect. I mean, it's a fun game to watch. And watching the women play, it's fast, it's physical, all of these things that people say it's not. Just get to Yost, go see a game. It is a blast.
It's pure. It's really pure. You don't have the testosterone. You don't have the silliness that can sometimes take away from the game. It's passing, it's skating, it's skilled, and it's really good hockey. I mean, I think I really do enjoy it more than the men's NHL game. I mean, there's no question that the NHL are the greatest in the world, but I think if I had to sit and choose which group I would watch, I'm not impartial, but I think that the women's game has come a long ways, and I think that it's a fabulous, it's worth your time. And there's always good seats at Yost. I can promise guys good seats. So
absolutely.
If anybody wants to come down, it's a good ticket, and it's fun to have the kids there. They can get on the glass, and you might even work something out where we talk to some players afterwards and stuff like that. So
definitely, thank you. Yeah, great time. So, okay, another story. A couple years ago, you bought the team. Now, this past year, the team got fantastic new jerseys, and they look slick and they look wonderful. But a few years before that, you bought the team jerseys, and they couldn't be used. What happened there?
Well, I've always had kind of an interesting relationship with club sports because they oversee us and we really appreciate what they do for us. But at the same time, there's a lot of constraints that sometimes can be, annoying and stuff.
Sure.
So in one of my more revolutionary moods, I collect and design hockey jerseys. I have a huge collection. And I thought, well, I'm going to have some fun, and I'm going to provide these women with a jersey that's very unique and top of the line, and I think they're going to love it. We're going to get matching socks, and I'm going to kind of sort of get it approved, and they're going to really dig it. Okay, so I went ahead with it. I got it a little approved. They were fantastic. They were maize, and they had a huge blue shoulder with a giant M on the shoulder.
Nice.
I did leave the old bear sailor cap off. I was told not to do that. All the font was varsity font, which meant it was, and they were sewn. It wasn't sublimated or anything like that. I went to a place that was really top of the line. And then for the front crest, it was the president's seal.
Nice.
Well, I gave it to them. I have a couple pictures. They loved them. But then I said, hey, this is kind of on the down low. Let's not make a big deal of that. And it got out a little bit, and because of the seal, which was being saved for the anniversary or something like that, we were told that you're not allowed to do that. I hadn't gone through the proper channels and gotten them approved. So what I ended up doing was I sent them to most of the players, or that first team. Each got their jersey, and I know I saved one for myself.
Nice.
And I put it in a shadow box because they're pretty cool. But, I tried to buck the system, and, that's not the right thing to do. I've learned my lesson, and you don't mess with Big Blue. You try to work with the system and take your time and do it right. So.
On the upside, those are probably pretty cool collector's items.
Well, I know that there's two people in the room that have them in shadow boxes. So, they're pretty cool, yeah.
That's awesome. So it's been an amazing 16 years with the team, and you made the tough decision to step away from coaching this, finishing up this last season. Yeah. Why was it the right time to step away now?
I'm not totally convinced it was the right time for me. I mean, I think the program is in the absolute place it should have been. When Gary Quiddiquit retired a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, he put me in position as the interim coach, and I immediately knew Gary and I had talked about that Tribbs was the one that we thought should be the one to lead the team. She's a perfect candidate. She's young. She's female. This team should be run by a female.
Yes.
She played for the team. She led the team. She started the team. She has the competitive juices. She's proficient in social media. So I knew that with her there, if that would happen, that I would have the chance to step back. So I talked to Tribbs, and she said that she would do it, and I said, well, I will stay for a year or two to make sure if there's any need that I can help with the transition.
Yeah.
So we're in that position now. We're in a great place. She's what this program needed, and frankly, I'm not getting any younger. When I started with this team, my pay was jumping into drills and getting a workout.
Yeah.
I can't do that. They've gotten so much better. I've gotten older. I've been addicted to this silly sport for over 40 years, and my wife Coach Jenny has been super understanding. We're getting older. We're not going to be able to travel forever. We've gotten an RV. So we never go anywhere in the fall or the winter, and I thought I owe her that much, so I'll hang him up then. And the other big thing that really made a difference is we got a really good friend of mine and a great guy, great coach, played at a high level to step in, Joe Upton.
Yeah.
And he is everything that I would hope to have been and be. I mean, he's led at a high level. He's a great player. He's classy. He loves the program. He's younger. And I can feel very comfortable now that there's an old white guy there that's not great at social media but loves the team and knows the game and has had kids, had daughters, raised daughters, and has grandkids, so that all those boxes are checked. So he makes me feel very comfortable that it was at least a time that I could, probably the best time that I could slide away. And I'm already jonesing for it a little bit.
I get that.
But we'll work that out. But anyway, yeah. So that in a nutshell, that's why it was the best time I could do it.
And you make a really good point, by the way. Everyone talks about trying to get a Michigan man to coach a team and all, but we have an amazing Michigan woman who's coaching the team and couldn't ask for anything better, and that is fantastic.
Yep.
So, again, you started with the team in 2007, and until now, how has the Michigan women's hockey team changed? How has it evolved?
Well, I'd like to say that it's certainly more apparent that there's a team. Okay, it's more out there with social media and some of the things that happened, and all the guys that I hound for fundraising and all the men's leagues and everything, they all know that now there's a team. So that's different. I think that we're getting some traction on respect. I mean, seems like we're getting more and better recruits. So, I mean, it's not where we all dreamt it might be. We might, if we'd written huge checks and it was varsity or something like that. But I feel like it's in a better place than it was, and you know, it's a big institution, and it's a lot of money, and it takes a lot of support, and there's been some, you know, crazy stuff's happened in the last 15, 16 years with COVID and, you know, economics at the university as far as financing and the athletic department and moving from athletics to student life and all those kind of things that have fallen into place and maybe been hurdles and stuff, and we seem to keep moving forward. So I think it's in a good direction, and it's more apparent that it's there. So
it's fantastic, and hopefully it's one of those things that I know when Coach Tribbs came, she didn't know there was a team first when she came to Michigan and found out. Hopefully we're getting to a point where more recruits are coming in because they know not only the academics, but they know there's a team. It's not something they can find out when they first hit campus.
Yep.
So speaking of trying to make you cry, no, we won't do that.
Go for it.
You've been a vital part of this team for so long. What are some of your favorite Michigan women hockey memories that you've experienced?
That's another good question. These are all great questions, Mark. You know what? I've got to say that Sue had a great answer last week. Being part of the Big Chill at the Big House was really amazing. And not only was it amazing because you're in the venue, it was snowing, and I mean the players were like gaga. And but there was a touching moment during the game that really cemented it for me. Is it was snowing so hard that I said, guys, you got to go to the corner, you got to follow the puck, you got to do that. And I had a couple defensemen turn around and say, Coach, we can't see the puck. There's so much snow. And I realized that none of those girls had learned to play on a pond like I had. And I said, you just follow the rooster tail. And they're like, oh, there's a rooster tail. And bingo, we were on the puck. We could, and I was like, sometimes it's okay to be an old guy that played on a pond.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was helpful there, and that was a really, really, really cool venue and a cool thing to do. And the other thing is, I had a lot of really great individual interactions with the players over the years that were just heartwarming.
Yeah.
I mean, even just things like being on a road trip and sitting at a restaurant and then having a player come up and sit down and eat with you and talk to you when you're kind of the old guy there and you don't know how comfortable they are and you're aware of that. That kind of thing happened a lot, and I always appreciated it. But the thing that really stuck out to me on a personal level was my father never really wanted me to be a hockey player. He never really supported it. My mom took me everywhere. I don't know that he ever came and saw me play. But he was a huge Michigan man. I mean, we played the Victors at his funeral. He coached. He taught at Michigan civil engineering for over 40 years. He was a professor here, and after one game at Yost, we beat Ohio State.
Nice.
And I mean, I had graduated from high school, had kids, had grandkids, Eagle Scout, all these honors and all this stuff, and I'd never gotten any kind of impression that there was, it was just what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
After we beat Ohio State, I never saw my dad prouder. I mean, it was like I had played. I had just stood behind the bench, and opened the doors and told girls to do what we did all week. I mean, it was amazing. Yeah. But he was out of his mind with pride that he had been at Yost and seen me coach where, he had seen people like Red Berenson and all these other things. Yeah. And, there might have been 50 people in the stands, but it didn't matter. He was, and that was something that really meant a lot to me, that my dad was so proud of that moment. So whatever it took to get him to be proud of me was good. So that was a pretty heartwarming moment.
It's always special to beat that team. I know my first broadcast ever with the team was down in Columbus, the last year that they had a Division I ACHA team. Yeah. And that was pretty special going down there and seeing the team win.
They get pretty passionate. I remember we once got curfewed at Yost in a tie game with Ohio State, and the fans in the lobby were so upset.
Yeah.
And they cornered me and they said, why can't you make this ice longer available and all that? And I said, guys, my name is Ned. My name is not Red. I cannot do anything to help you get this ice any longer. We are curfewed, and it's a tie game. I'm sorry. So.
Unless you own the rink. I've been to many games, and when that clock starts 0, you're done. Yep. You're out.
Right. And we work within those restraints, and we respect it. But maybe someday they'll get to play as long as they can. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, speaking of keeping you in the game, you've agreed to help us out and do some color commentary for some of our broadcasts. And we're very excited about that, and we'll certainly let people know. But in the spirit of educating fans, what's one thing about this team that the average fan wouldn't understand?
Well, I've kind of reflected on it before. I think it's a lot better hockey than you think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are unbelievable. They can fly. And there's people out there there's women out there that have every bit as good a shot as the men I play with.
Yeah.
They're faster. They're smart. They move the puck. I mean, it's a players coaches kind of game. I mean, and people say, well, there's no checking. Let me tell you, there's a lot of body contact, especially in the house, in the kitchen, or whatever you want to call it, the slot. There's going to be a lot of body contact. It depends on the referees. It depends on the rivalry. It depends on the level of competition, and it depends on maybe on the game before, the night before, or something like that, or the mood of the team. But when you go, I think you'll be surprised, especially if you get down on the glass, how fast the game is, how good the athletes are, and it's. They play it in a cerebral way because they're brilliant.
Yeah.
They are absolutely brilliant human beings, and they work and dedicate themselves. These women fit practices in 2 or 3 times a week. It used to be early morning, now it's really late at night, and they'll travel and they'll play games on the weekend, and they still maintain their eligibility at a tough as university as there is at Michigan.
Absolutely.
And to do all of that and to play at the level they play, if you take that all into account, even if you didn't take it into account, just the skills as athletes and how they do it is amazing. But you put all that together, then it's well worth supporting them and coming out and see how they play. It's really a good game.
Absolutely. I challenge you. If you don't think it's physical, sit on the boards at Yost and just be there and watch them battle. And it is.
They're blocking shots, and there's people who, they have howitzers. They can blast it. And when you get somebody winding up from the point, somebody steps in front of it. That's what you ask them to do, and they're not getting paid to do it, and they've got to go to class the next day. And it's dedication, and for that dedication, you hope for support and respect. And that's the thing I would say is how good the game is.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time. Any final comments or thoughts or stories about the team before we actually let you go enjoy a beverage here at Regents Field?
Well, that's
not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's I haven't thought of anything. I mean, I can't say enough about the team and how much they give back and how far it's come. And honestly, support for the fundraising. I mean, the budget this year is going to be in excess of $150,000.
Yeah.
And we may even get the amount of money we get from the university reduced this year.
Yeah.
So it's really important if you want to maintain the safe travel that we've tried to institute with all away games being in a bus and not freshmen driving vans they're not used to in the storms.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Things like that. If people want to do something, I know they can. There's a link on your site. There's a link on our site, or they can just come and get a meal when we do something, or ice cream at Washtenaw Dairy when we do it, or Godico's when we have a fundraiser there, Buddy's Pizza. It doesn't take much from each person. It takes a community, and these guys are so worth it. So anything that can help us keep them. We've instituted something that the Huron team used to do that I think is so important is when seniors graduate, now they're going to get their jerseys. I mean, those ladies used to put in 4 years and all that work and everything, and they would walk away without a jersey, and they deserve to have those jerseys. Well,
yes.
Because of what we've raised and because of people being generous and instituting that policy, something. Now, maybe the week after they leave, it's not going to mean much. But when you get to be my age, if you still had your collegiate jersey and somebody put it in a shadow box for you, you'd think that was pretty dang cool.
Absolutely.
If I'm still talking about a national championship in 1977, I sure would like a jersey from that game.
Absolutely.
So, if we can do that kind of little bit of thing for them, then I think that's worth it. So that's what I would say is do the best you can if you're into the game to check them out and to support them. And if you're not into the game, maybe take a look. If you're into women's athletics, it's kind of under the radar, but it shouldn't be.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you for your time. Thank you for always being willing to talk hockey with me when we run into each other at the rink. And I appreciate everything. I look forward to working with you on the broadcast.
If I can, I think that would be fun. I'd like to be a politically correct Don Cherry and have some of that. And as a hockey player, I know that I'm a nice guy that drops too many F-bombs. I'll try to clean it up and make that work. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, we will look forward to it. And thank you very, very much for your time. And we'll have Coach Tribbs come over and talk about a couple of things. But thank you. Absolutely. So as we switch out again, we do want to thank Regents Field every Wednesday. Come on down. It's 6 o'clock. They have fantastic happy hour specials. You can come down, get some buffalo chicken sliders for $2.50 and lots of wonderful things. We'd love to see you in the house. We want to thank Coach Ned for doing such an amazing job with us. And Coach Tribbs is joining us now. And perfect.
I think I got it.
Absolutely. Well done. Sliding right in there. Any comments before we talk about the couple of things we want to talk about? Any open comments on your end?
I think super grateful for Coach Ned and everything he's done for our program. Obviously, putting in over a decade. That's quite a long time. I mean, I've been in Ann Arbor for about 10 years now as a freshman in 2013, so it means a lot. And our program it's approaching 30 years, so he's been around for about half the life of the program, if not more. So super integral part of where we're at today. I appreciate all the kind words. Obviously, as a first-time head coach at any position, this was my first head coaching job, so he was really integral in supporting me. Obviously, he knows a lot about club sports, the history of the program, so we're just super grateful to have him still around. And I know he's talked with you. He's also talked with me about ways he wants to stay involved, so I'm super glad that we'll be able to have him as a resource if we need him. I know he's very popular in Ann Arbor, so it's great to have the support of his friends and his connections and his family, so we're super grateful for that. And yeah, I'm super excited that he was able to share a little bit of his story today. I think we had some great questions for him, and I think he answered them really well, so I think he might have a future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, talking about fundraising, the Washtenaw Dairy fundraiser has been pushed back a little bit. Look for that in early September, but keep an eye. Donuts are nice in the fall, too, so make sure you check that out. Now, we want to continue releasing the key dates for Michigan women's hockey schedule. And so far, we've announced 4 different games. September 29th, they will be at Concordia, which is going to be an 8:30 p.m. game at the Arctic Edge of Canton. Concordia's moved now, so check that out. That'll be the first game. September 30th, it will be Michigan versus Michigan State at 2 o'clock at Mount Clemens Ice Arena. So make sure you check that out. That'll be a fantastic time. And then we talked about the first big road trip, which is going to be Michigan will head up to the Upper Peninsula for a pair of games versus Lake Superior State at Taffy Able Arena. That will be Saturday, October 7th at 7 p.m. and Saturday, October 8th at 1 p.m. Now, what does that all have in common? They're all road games, right? When do we get to see this team at home? Do you want to announce when the first home game is?
Yes, so our first home game will be Friday, October 13th at Yost Ice Arena. Puck drop is 6:30 p.m. We will be playing Grand Valley State University. So CCWHA playoff matchup from last year. We also played them in a home-and-home. So we're super excited that we're going to be able to have a game on a Friday night at Yost Ice Arena. So we've got some exciting things coming up soon. Hopefully our schedule will be released by next week. I know we kind of keep teasing it, but there are some things out of our control at the moment. So
absolutely.
If you've been listening, you know our first couple games of the year, of the season. So I know you got some other notes on here too, but first home game Friday, October 13th at 6:30 p.m. at Yost Ice Arena.
And these two teams last played at the CCWHA tournament in the opening round. Michigan was able to win that game 3-0, but you know Grand Valley State, the Lakers, are going to come in. They're going to try and spoil the first home game, so we could use all of you. We would use a packed house at Yost and have everyone out there cheering this team on, and I guarantee you it will be a fantastic time to come out. Any final thoughts before we let folks go for the week?
I know Coach Ned mentioned Coach Joe Upton.
Yep.
So Coach Joe Upton is going to be on the show next week. So last season was his first season as an assistant coach with the program. I'm super excited for him to be on, talk a little bit about his background so people can get to know him more. He was hired pretty late. He was actually at our Washtenaw Dairy fundraiser, and that's when we started the initial conversation. So we onboarded him pretty late. He picked everything up very quickly, which was exciting. And I'm super excited for him to be on. So Coach Joe Upton will be on next week. Classes start on Monday.
Absolutely.
So if you're in Ann Arbor, you've noticed that there's a lot of traffic because students are moving in. So our players are starting to come back into town this week. those that may have left for the summer or our incoming players. So I'm really excited to see them all next week on the ice. We've got our captain skate on Monday, then off ice lift Tuesday, and then tryouts Wednesday, Thursday. So I'm really excited to just be back at Yosei Arena and see everybody that I haven't seen in quite a few months.
Absolutely. So if you're a Michigan student, come on down to Regents Field next Wednesday at 6 p.m. And we would love to see you here. Nice full crowd today, and we're excited to have Coach Upton on the show next week. Well, thank you, Coach Ned. Thank you, Jenna, and I appreciate everyone here who's shown up. And we'll see you next week. Take care. Have a wonderful evening, folks.